forgot my water. No. I like to be a hydrated queen and I'm currently feeling very dehydrated, so this is gonna be tough to get through, but I can get through it. Hi, my name is Scola and your genetics are absolutely beautiful. Look at you. Okay guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be talking about how much genetics affect our body composition, the way that we look and the way that others look. I'm sure we've all tried workout plans and diet plans hoping we'll look like the person who put out that diet or that workout plan, and yet we never end up looking like them. Till this day, I am seething, I am angry, I am upset, I am flabbergasted that I don't look like Tiana Taylor, because what do you mean I don't have those abs? What do you mean? Anyway, before we get into the video, if the energy feels right, if you like my vibes, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell button so you get notified when I do upload. And as always, feel free to leave a cheeky comment down below. My favorite thing about these videos is the discussions. The discussions, they get so juicy. Oh, I love it. I love it. Anyway, I've just put on this nose cuff, and do you know what? My nose might be going a little bit red, so I'm sorry if I keep fiddling with it, but like, I like it. It makes me feel cute. Anyway, so I recently saw a TikTok video from a PT called James Smith. I'm pretty sure it's James Smith. I'm not just using a generic name, no offense. Why am I offending people? But James Smith is a really common name. I'm just gonna put it out there. Anyway, so I believe he's actually a personal trainer and he recently put out this video. I'm just gonna be quiet for a second and let this man speak.
I've come to realize that swimmers don't look the way they do because they swim. They swim because of the way they look. People think I'm big and broad because I played rugby. No, I played rugby because I was big and broad. When my whole school year went to play rugby, only the big guys and the fast guys and the athletic guys actually.
I absolutely love this video and I'm so glad that a man who is deemed to be physically fit has said this, because if I'd said that, I would have just been seen as the bitter fat girl who just can't get it together. Okay? Because in the past when I've spoken about certain barriers that people might have to achieving a certain body, sometimes people just shoot me down and assume that I'm just saying that and taking on a victim mentality because of some of the things that I've been through. I've been very open about the fact that I have a condition called hypothyroidism, which makes it very hard for me to maintain a certain weight. I gain weight very easily. Now, that being said, there are many people with hypothyroidism that thrive. They have abs. They are living their best life. Great for them. Beautiful. I don't know, what? Do you want a medal? Maybe I am bitter. Maybe I am just a lazy old hag. I don't know. Anyway. I'm just so happy that this is something that we're speaking about now, because when I got into health and fitness, the typical person like a personal trainer or anybody that is into fitness had already had a background that made it very easy for them to be good at it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was always those kids at school who did really well at PE that went on to be a personal trainer or went on to be a PE teacher themselves, because they already had that ingrained from a young age and they already had the natural abilities that actually made it a lot easier. I've always wondered what the science was behind this, if some people's genetics are just a little bit better. I know growing up I was always called big boned, and I never know what that actually meant, because I was like, I don't know, my bones don't actually feel that big. Like, what does that mean? Comment down below if you're called big bones so that we can start a support group together and just be there for each other, because we've got a lot to unpack. First of all, let's get the science out of the way. Let's find out if our genetics can actually affect the way that we look. So there are the FTO genes, also known as the fatso gene. I don't know if that's true. The fatso genes, that seems kind of like, I don't know. Anyway, FTO genes. So it's found that if you have two of these genes, that you can be more likely to carry extra weight. And this can also mean that you have a higher appetite. So there was actually a study that showed that people with this gene on average were 3 kg heavier than people that don't have this gene. And also were 1.7 times more likely to be obese than those people that didn't have this gene. So the short answer is yes, your genes can play a part in your body composition, composition, the way that you look, how much weight you're going to carry, but it isn't the biggest indicator by far. Now, there is also another theory called the set point theory, and the gist is basically that we all have a set weight that our bodies naturally want to be at. That's the weight that your body's always going to gravitate towards. It's not one like set weight, but it's like a range of weight that your body will fluctuate in between. But again, with set point theory, this is affected by genes, hormones, and also environment. So environment also goes into like diet and exercise and that kind of thing, those variables. Now, I actually found this really interesting because a few months ago, I actually did a DNA test with this company called Circle DNA. This isn't sponsored or anything, but I did get some data to show if in my DNA, I'm more predisposed to be a chubby lumpkins. Let's have a look. Okay, so first of all, with body composition, I am at the higher end of lean body mass, so I'm likely to have increased lean body mass. Not the highest by any means, but I totally agree with that because I've never found it difficult to build muscle and also maintain muscle. Once I build it, it's gonna be there with me. Like my thighs, my quads. Let me not even get into it. Let's not get too excited. Also my strength profile. I have a high strength profile. Strength is maximum force that can be exerted by a muscle group or group of muscles during one contraction. Again, I completely agree with that. I've never found it difficult to strength train. I find it very easy to hit like high weights, like right off the bat. So I agree with that too. Now I'm trying to find the weight one. Let's see. Personality traits, gender traits, physical traits. Here we go. Maybe it'll be there. But okay, so here is probably the one that is relevant to this, and it says persistent thinness. Don't ask me, I don't know what that means. I'm less likely to be thin. Based on your genetic results, you're less likely to be thin. Keep in mind that your lifestyle environment have a big impact on you being thin. The reason why slim parents have slim children and the same with overweight parents, although not always, persistent thinness defined as individuals who have a BMI. You guys, I need to talk about BMI, but just so you know, BMI is a pile of crap and we don't talk about it. Has been found to be a heritable trait, just like severe obesity. In fact, around 40 to 70% of weight is determined by our genetics. So next time, don't be jealous of your friend who can eat anything yet remain slim. It's in their genes. Okay, so this is really interesting because of all the research I did on online articles, they didn't actually come to this conclusion. Like, this is a very specific conclusion to say 40 to 70% of our weight is determined by our genetics. Wow, okay. So here they do have like the references, like scientific details and everything like that. But there you go. And I completely agree with all of that. I am definitely less likely to be thin. I gain weight very easily. I find it harder to then lose weight as well, but at the same time, I find it very easy to put on muscle mass and to maintain muscle mass, whereas a lot of people might find that difficult. And so this is why I really wanted to sit down and speak about this, because I'm sure a lot of us follow fitness influencers that we look up to and we think they look amazing and we're like, ugh, if I just work hard enough, I will look like them. Now, of course, as I've said, environment actually is a big factor into how your body composition will look, but at the same time, we need to look at what is physically possible. So like that video said at the beginning of the video, it's the same reason that models are scouted. Like, models already look the way that they look. They didn't have to put in work to look that way. That being said, there are a lot of models who end up having to put a lot of effort into the way that they look, but they're probably predispositioned to look a certain way and to be able to have that sort of weight. And I think it's so important to be able to point that out, because I see all the time people selling certain plans, especially when it comes to like booty building plans, which has been all the rage at the moment. For some people, building a booty is just really difficult. And one person I've seen speak openly about this quite a lot is Blog Lattes. Cassie Ho is a trainer here on YouTube and all platforms as well. She mainly does Pilates, but she's tried all kinds of training and she's always openly said, I have a lot of difficulty building my glute muscles. So with this rise of the booty being this big thing that everybody wants to have, it's also been quite sad to see some misleading information out there. Like for me personally, I've never put a booty building guide. I might have done a booty building workout here and there, because at the end of the day, we're talking about building glute muscles and building the strength there, which from a fitness and day-to-day health standpoint is really important, because your glutes are one of your biggest muscle groups in your body. So of course, if we're going to be in a movement where we're strengthening those muscles, that's amazing. I'm going to encourage it, because at least we're getting people working out, at least we're getting people moving their bodies and focusing on muscle groups that are really important for functional training and day-to-day activities. That being said, it is misleading when somebody who already naturally has a bigger butt like myself saying, hey, if you do this, you'll have a butt like mine. I can tell you right now, my butt did not come from just training. Whilst it definitely has been affected by that, had I never trained in my life before, maybe I'd look quite a lot different. I have been training for the past 12 years now. That's when I first got into health and fitness and started actually using my muscles in a way I'd never done before. And so I can imagine years of training has changed my body composition. That being said, it's pretty clear that I have a certain body shape that even without training would have been like the shell. Like the shell was there and I just built the muscle around that. Like I said, in the past, I haven't been able to openly speak about this just because when you are predisposed to be larger, or you are on the larger side, which I don't even know what to consider myself, probably due to a little bit of body dysmorphia. I don't know if I can call myself mid-size or whatever. Like, do you know what? Labels are labels, and I actually want to do a video about labels because there's so much to unpack there, because I want to hear what you guys think about labels. But I don't know what I'd consider myself, but I've lost my train of thought because I got excited about labels, didn't I? This is the thing. I'm not a girly who scripts her videos. I'm a girly who's passionate, sits down and has a chat with her mates. I remember what I was saying now. As somebody who is not necessarily small or thin or skinny, whatever word you want to use, whenever I've openly spoken about the fact that, do you know what? Genetics can actually really play a big part in why you cannot achieve a certain goal, I get shot down because it just looks like I'm lazy, I'm not working hard enough, and I'm just making up excuses. When in reality, I feel like it's something that we need to start speaking about, because we're putting so much pressure on ourselves to look a way that our bodies just naturally can't look. Or not that they can't, but it's going to take a lot more effort. And you do see this with men as well. I haven't really spoken about men on my channel that much when it comes to these topics. I would definitely want to do so, but obviously as a woman, I am always going to speak from my own perspective. But men as well do really struggle with this as well. So men obviously have a lot of pressure to build muscle, to be bigger, to be able to have a lot of strength. That is what society, the patriarchy, has put on them. And I can really sympathize with them, because I've seen how difficult it can be, because a lot of men who are of a smaller stature really struggle to put on muscle mass. They really struggle to even eat more and actually gain mass, gain weight. And so when this pressure comes in to be like, build muscle, baby, and they're in the gym every day and they don't look like their favorite, fitness Insta influencer, they feel really down about themselves, when again, we do have to take into environmental stuff as well, which I really want to talk about, because environmental aspects I feel like are such a big thing, but also can be such a big barrier. And actually, this is what I really want to talk about for the rest of the video, because as much as genetics is really important to me, there's not much to say about that. Like, yes, your genetics play a big part, but you can make changes with your environment, and that goes into your diet and your exercise. Obviously, as a personal trainer, I'm always going to say making positive changes with your diet and exercise is totally possible and totally doable, but we have to be realistic. We have to know what our barriers are, and we have to know what goals are actually achievable within your lifestyle. So I really want to take it back to me being a kid and realizing in which ways I was really different. I'm going to tell a story that really upsets me. Like, honestly, don't tear up. Don't. I've been really teary at the moment and I don't know why, but basically when I was growing up, I was always the bigger one. I went through puberty before a lot of my friends, and so I was always taller, I was always bigger, all of that kind of stuff. And so many aspects go into that, but one of the biggest aspects I would say was the environmental change for me and my family. We moved from Zimbabwe, which is in Africa, if you didn't know, to England, the south of England. And so we went from eating foods that were fairly different, not to say they were massively different, but like there is something to be said that Western food and Western diet is kind of, you ain't eating real food over here. I said it. You ain't eating real food. Whatever crops you're growing, there's something weird in there. They're all genetically modified. Back home, I was eating organic. I was eating fresh. It was beautiful. There, I said it. Fight with your mum. Why am I crying whilst I'm cussing out imaginary people? Because I know all of you are lovely and you wouldn't fight me. Okay, we got some tissue because I started to tear up before I even told the story. Anyway, so because of this massive environmental change, I, as a kid, started to gain a lot more weight than I did when I was back in Zim. And so when I moved here, so many foods to try. So excited, eating everything, doing everything, but I was still a very active kid. Now also take into account that apparently my genetics might cause me to be able to hold on to weight more than somebody else. Also, with those genetics, I would like to say that due to survival, all of us here are amongst people who could hold on to weight and survive through famines. So that is also within our genes. So that's definitely something important to think about when it comes to why we hold on to weight. At the end of the day, it is something to do with survival. And so generations and generations of people have got us here. And so I don't think I need to get into why my ancestors might have had to fight a little bit harder than other people's ancestors in order to survive. And so my ancestors, having survived, might have been amongst the best to hold on to a lot of fat due to surviving through famines, due to certain events that might have happened in the past. You know what I'm getting at, but I don't want to get in trouble for always making it about that. But you know, if you know, then you know. So anyway, so I was a bigger kid and I went to a friend's house to eat. And it was my first time going to this friend's house to eat. And this is why. I understand when my mum would sometimes say, no, I can't go to certain friends' house. Like, she didn't know what these people were like. And she was right. Anyway, so I went to this friend's house and the mum basically went to my best friend's mum and said, oh my goodness, Scola eats like a pig. Scola eats like a pig. And I remember going to their house. I know what happened. I was so excited because, again, a huge cultural change for me. We were eating a food I've never had before. And it was a jam roly-poly. And I'll never forget because, honestly, moving to this country blew my mind. First of all, dinner, tea. They call it tea here. It's tea. They call it tea. Love that. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. But it meant a lot of the time when I was going to my friend's house, I was trying foods that we just didn't have at home. And so I remember being really excited about this jam roly-poly. I inhaled it. It was delicious. In fact, I might go and get myself a jam roly-poly today because that's what I'm in the mood for, with some vanilla ice cream. Beautiful. Anyway. So I remember asking for seconds because I was so excited to try this new food. And it turns out this mum was low-key judging me and saying that I eat like a pig. Cool, because it's fine to talk about literal 7-year-olds like this. Yes, I was a mere 7 or 8, somewhere between there, 7 or 8. Obviously my best friend's mum found that comment really disgusting and told my best friend and was like, yeah, just, you know, let her know so that she doesn't go to their house again. So as you can see, I've already described what the environment was like at my home and why certain factors went into why I was the size that I was or I ate the way that I did. And it's all very innocent, very simple facts that, you know what, you can't help it. And so on the flip side, as I got older, and I remember this so clear, I also had a lot of sympathy for this friend and the mum who'd said this comment about me, because I realized this mum, first of all, had an eating disorder of her own. She was very, very skinny, and this isn't me like diagnosing her. It was just very clear in her habits and from my observations. Okay, that is me diagnosing her, but I'm just saying this based on also what her daughters would say about themselves and say about her. They also had quite a bit of disordered eating. And I'll never forget, I didn't see this friend again for a few years because she ended up moving away. But this friend ended up messaging me on Facebook, and she was like, hey, I've seen that you've lost a lot of weight. Could you give me tips? I've never been so confused in my whole entire life, because first of all, this girl had always been very small, very petite, very tiny. But then I also found it really upsetting that I'm filming a video. Sorry, bye. Love you, bye.
Hi.
This is Kim, and she's my biggest fan. She really likes these videos. She's my sister. Say hi, Kim.
Hey. Oh my god, I'm saying hi to me.
Yay! And I felt really bad because she was very small, very petite. You know, I never want to tell people what to do with their bodies. But from my stance, she didn't have any health reasons anyway, or any habitual reasons in order to lose weight. And so my heart kind of broke, because I realized that her growing up with a mum like that must have been really difficult. And as much as I'm very upset from that one comment I got, I can only imagine what it was like growing up in a household where there must have been so much restriction around food and so much emphasis on exercise, because also they did a lot of like extracurricular activities and a lot of that kind of stuff. And then also after this, like growing up, as I got more into health and fitness and I went into a stage where I was a little bit too obsessive about it, I'd also spend a lot of time observing people's behaviors, because I got so frustrated wondering, why am I this size? And why is everybody else so effortlessly maintaining their weight? Like, nobody else seems to gain weight like I do. Of course, I later found out that I have so many other aspects, such as hormones, because my thyroid literally was dysfunctioning, and that is what sends out the hormones. That was a terrible explanation, but you know what I mean. And so I used to observe people's behaviors a lot, and I noticed, oh, actually, I guess I do have behaviors which meant that I was also not helping myself when it came to maintaining a certain weight. Like, I noticed certain friends just walked a lot faster, and this is probably the biggest one. I walk very slow and steady. Okay, I don't walk with a lot of effort. Every single one of my friends, they walk like they're on a mission. They walk very fast. I cannot keep up with them. Now, of course, I'm not saying that this factor is the reason that they maintain a certain way, but it is true that walking faster expends more energy and takes more effort. And so that is definitely a small thing that you could put towards the reason why we have differences. So that was something that I noticed. Another thing I noticed is with food, I never got full. Or at least, even if I got full, I never stopped eating until the food was finished. If there was more food, I would go and eat it. And this sort of derived from being from a background where you were encouraged to finish your plate, like eat everything and eat a lot. And I come from a culture where we are encouraged to eat because, again, even just my parents, they come from a lot of poverty, and they talk about the lunches they'd have growing up and the food that they'd have and how literally they'd walk 7 to 10 miles to school. And then they would literally sometimes not even eat all day at school. Like, some people didn't even have lunch. They'd get home and then that's when they'd have their dinner. And even when they did eat, they'd have very basic meals, which is basically just sadza, which is like maize meal. And they wouldn't always have meat. So you might have it with veggies. If you're lucky, you might have it with soup. I don't know. They were going through it. They were going through it because, of course, my parents in their early years grew up during apartheid back in Zim. And so once my parents got to a point where they could provide for their family a lot more and had food, of course, it was encouraged to eat a lot because it was like, we have food. We have an abundance of food finally. You can eat a lot. And so that's so ingrained in the culture. And I see it in a lot of other people's cultures who've gone through similar struggles where eating and food isn't seen as a bad thing, or eating in excess of it, because it's something that was scarce, and it's seen as something that should be celebrated and enjoyed. And in fact, actually carrying more weight is seen as something good. If you're actually too small, you're seen as somebody that might be ill or having less. Whereas if you have a fuller body, you're seen as somebody who is healthy. Like literally, I think it's really common where I'm from to be said like, you look healthy, and it comes with this action. If you know, then you know, like this action. And so I feel like all of these aspects and environmental aspects really do play a part in it, and there are so many layers to it. And as you can see just from what I've described, there's a lot of trauma behind that, and it's not just as simple as you're gonna have to start eating salads and working out and that's it. Like I have years of learned behavior to try to unlearn and change and rewire my brain, which is totally possible, but it's a lot, and it runs deeper than a lot of us actually care to admit or speak about. Next time you see your favorite fitness influencer, who, by the way, I'm not saying all fitness influencers have it easy and it's just their genetics and it's just their bodies. People work hard, they do work hard, but we have to acknowledge the fact that it's easier for some, or that some people were just born that way. Like again, I said, for me, I'm never gonna pretend that my bum came to me because I worked really hard. I didn't. I sat on my ass and I ate, and it got fat, and I got a fatty. That is the story of how I got my bum, and I'll always be very honest about it. I'm not gonna pretend that I built it, because even as you can see, when I was at a very small weight, I still had like a bum, but it was like a lot smaller, obviously. But next time you see your favorite fitness influencers, just take a moment to realize that their genetics, their habits, that their genetics play a really big part in that. And you should always just aim to look like the best you. Not even the best you, because we don't always have to be our best selves, but just look the way that makes you feel the happiest. Always set realistic goals to what your body can do. I'm never going to be able to have a thigh gap unless I get seriously ill, and that's okay. So I'm going to set goals that are realistic for me and my body, and you should do the same. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. It was a little bit all over the place. I just wanted to throw in a few anecdotes of my own. I hope hearing the numbers and hearing the science helps you to realize that, you know what, there is a lot that's already fated. There's already predisposed things that are fated that make it difficult and harder for some of us to look a certain way that we might want to. And the thing is, it goes the other way as well. I know I talk a lot about weight loss here on my channel because that's my experience and that's my lived experience. But I've seen so many people talk about how difficult it is for them to gain weight and to build muscle. So as along with this whole like booty building and muscle trend that we've seen, like the gym trend, I've seen a lot of people feel really down about themselves, and girls as well, saying, you know, they really struggle to eat more to gain weight. And I literally can't comprehend that. Like I can't relate. I've never had trouble with that. Like that's never been my struggle. I can't understand. And it just goes to show how much genetics do play a part, because the fact that there are people going through the opposite of me and I can't even comprehend it just goes to show that we're all having different experiences, and we need to be mindful of that and not expect ourselves to look a certain way. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. But anyway, guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your experiences. So please feel free to comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.